Okay, I'm going to need to fix this in post. I screwed up the intro here. One sec. That's right. Here we come. Kyle Nash, the student of the game of the Jaguar Watch, or Jaguar Report, and of course, Jaguar Watch. I don't know what that is. The Jaguar Report, and of course, my guy, Travis Holmes. I better turn that off. I better turn that loop off because my dude will keep dancing to the championship song. Travis Holmes of Big Cat Country. You're hyped and ready to go. What's going on, my man?
Hey man, that song it gets me hype. It's in my shana now. What they say? Let's go.
My Shana, I like that. Listen, hey, unfortunately, there wasn't very much Shana this past weekend, other than Travis Etienne, who was a bright spot for the team, which I wrote about on the Jaguar Report in question. Bing! Not a lot to get excited about. 17-0 at half, and the deficit the same by the end of the game. And I know people are harping on the fullback kickoff touchdown return, but there were plenty of other things that were wrong with that long before that. Calvin Ridley dropping an opening drive touchdown and just a tough game all the way around. I would say for the offense, but the defense had their woes too, right, Travis?
Correct. Something that showed its head originally in the preseason, it popped back up. Giving up those explosive plays. It's not something that you can do when you're a highly efficient defense like the Jaguars. That's what they aim to be for the most part.
Well, I mean, they all aim to be an efficient defense, one would think, in the NFL. But listen, you come out the gate talking about big plays being exploded. Listen, there's two things that were huge factors in a lot of what happened for the Texans going well. First of all, C.J. Stroud is that guy. I knew he was going to come out being pretty good. I didn't ever expect this. And now my prediction that I made with the 3-point conversion back at the beginning of the month for the AFC South, bing, of the Texans winning 7 games looks more real than it ever did. And oh, by the way, they're supposed to be injured all over their offensive line. No offense, Travis. But this is stuff that we kind of expected CJ Stroud to do a little bit if you were looking at it right. If you trifle with the Texans, they will make you pay. And on 2 occasions they did at the hands of Tank Dell. Travis, let me pull up the first instance here. The first big ball down the field, it looked like a busted coverage from where I sat. I don't know if it's that simple or not. I don't know a lot of what's going on, but you point out here in the clip what pass rush happened, where is that, what's going on, and over the top, kaboom.
There was a few things going on, but yeah, like you just pointed out, Clavon Chason is in no man's land. He's not detaching. He's not 5 yards close to CJ Stroud. But also, hey, Campbell, Tyson, you gotta pick that. He saw the ball in the air a good 15 to 20 yards, before the ball landed. He can see it right here, and for whatever reason, he doesn't go up and get it. But the real culprit on this play was obviously Rayshawn Jenkins. You can see right now he's talking to the linebacker, he's talking to the safety. He is the only person on the field, I would say, that didn't realize that fullback motion right back across the formation. So as they came down initially, he basically it's that same thing that the Miami Dolphins have been doing with a lot of those short rushes. And he simply just looked down at the wrong moment and tried to communicate something to the linebackers at the wrong moment. Didn't notice, and that meant that he needed to be the cover 3 safety rotating back. He just kind of went back late, and that was murder she wrote.
And that's something we had seen in the past too. What you're asking Tyson Campbell to have done, we saw happen against the Kansas City Chiefs. You pointed out Andre Sisco's pick was him noticing a ball going high. The corner fell or got beat or something, but here he is pulling down a pass from Patrick Lavon Mahomes II. I can see why you would have expected Campbell to get involved against a rookie like C.J. Stroud in that particular instance. But, I mean, credit to Tank Dell. He shows that you have to pay him attention to keep a big ball from that from happening. Let's get through the pain quickly for you, though, Travis. It happened again, too. Tank Dell had another big ball, leading receiver on the day for the Texans in yardage. And let's go ahead and
this is the fun one, because on this individual play, I still don't know. And I keep seeing Jaguar fans blame Darius Williams for this play. And they're giving Tank Dell the credit. Hey, you caught the ball. You did what you're supposed to do. But the player of this play, the person who made this play was Robert Woods. And he's that inside receiver that I just like kind of pointed out. Because there's a communication issue that happens between Trey Herndon and Darius Williams here. You see Robert Woods 1 yard inside of the hash. He immediately attacks the flats. With the defensive back rules, hey, if you immediately attack the flat and I have outside leverage on these two receivers, I'm going to immediately, as the outside cornerback, Darius Williams, I'm going to take that outside guy, and Trey Herndon, you're going to carry that inside receiver vertical. That's not what happened. But they also could have simply had a tag on, which basically says, hey, I'm going to communicate with you that I'm going to take this guy inside and you're going to take the vertical route. And unfortunately, we don't know which one they went with. But just based on Robert Woods' outside release, again, he went 4 yards outside within the first 5 yards of the play. I think Darius Williams immediately saw that and says, this is my guy. Trey, you have that other guy. And somewhere between the two of those guys, that was a communication snafu, but also that could simply be just a great route, a great stem by Robert Woods that kind of just used their defensive rules against them.
Yeah, I mean, a proper play call design, surely designed to create confusion. I don't know that they necessarily expected a bomb like that on that play, but yeah, it was certainly a miscommunication. And at the very least, if they don't miscommunicate, surely CJ delivers a short pass for a little bit of yards to keep the play alive, or to keep some sort of gain happening in order to move the chain.
Right. But the play call was absolutely with the thought process that they would be in cover 1 or cover 3. And the only problem about that is it was going to either stretch Trey Herndon on that outside route, or it was going to stretch Darius Williams in trying to stay with that corner route. You know what I mean? Like if he's in man-on-man coverage. So they knew in either case it was a half-field read in every way. And they busted the coverage because of the communication thing. I mean, again, those guys on offense get paid too.
An interesting note, I don't know if you had the opportunity yet to see the short that I put out. Actually, I don't think I put out a Josh Allen short yet. I'll do it to prop up this episode once it's live there. But Josh Allen commented post-game about communication. And I know you can actually right now you could see it on the Sertoba Media YouTube channel. My dude Drew Willingham put it up before I got a chance to on my side. So if you want to check it out on the shorts, with Sertoba Media, where the struggle is real to be awesome, feel free to do that 100%. That's certainly an option you have there. With that in mind, let me go this direction, Travis. The defense had its rough day. The offense had a rough day. I think, but after the game, obviously the next game is against Bijan Robinson and company and the Atlanta Falcons. Please notice, by the way, sir, that I did not say a word about Desmond Ridder yet. We'll get into that later, I'm sure. But an interesting thing I just thought of, a couple things I want to get out there. First of all, CJ Stroud needs to be getting his flowers. The Jaguars will be playing against him for at least the next, 10 games that they face the Houston Texans, meaning he's going to be there for at least 5 more years, I think. Moreover, this week and next week, I believe the Jaguars are going to have both faced the guys that are the consensus pick to battle for the Offensive Rookie of the Year. Don't you agree with that?
Sure. We'll go with that. I know CJ Stroud for sure is going to be in that conversation. Actually, no, you're probably right. I'm just now that I'm thinking through all the rookies. Yeah, you're more likely than not. This is going to be the two guys, and Bijan already had the preseason hype just off his first rush, and now the way that CJ's played just these past 2 weeks, really just game and a half. That's all it really took, and now CJ's absolutely. If you're a quarterback, you're in that conversation. So yeah, you may be correct, sir.
Oh, if you're a quarterback that's successful, you're in the conversation, and we haven't really seen that as much from Bryce Young at this particular point. And I don't think Anthony Richardson will stay healthy enough to end up with the award at the end of the day, even though you and I both agree in week 1 he wasn't the reason the Colts lost to the Jaguars by any stretch. But as they get prepped for London, a very interesting point was brought up in the post game from Houston. in talking to quarterback Trevor Lawrence about the possibility of a positive existing in heading over to London. I know I've made jokes already about this being a pair of home games for the Jags compared to other NFL franchises, but about how there might be an opportunity to kind of escape and be isolation for the upcoming game. Here's Trevor Lawrence after the game on Sunday. Or it could decide to not work. That's cool. Let's try that again. Yeah. This is what happens sometimes, folks. Here, bear with us here. We'll make it work.
I mean, I think if we use it the right way, it could be good for us. I don't think that we should need that to, get the sense of urgency and to play better and to execute. I don't think that we should need that, but if that's what we need, and it's coming at the right time, and we're going to take advantage of it. So we'll see. I mean, I think that I know we're going to respond the right way, but hope this will be good for us, and we'll respond.
And I get, Travis, where Jaguar fans are annoyed with certain parts of what's gone on so far. I mean, well, I shouldn't say certain parts. Let's just call it what it is. The Texans. Yeah, I get that, the Kansas City Chiefs game was a missed opportunity because of several missed opportunities. I wrote about that in the Jaguar report a couple weeks ago. Bing! But you need to get more bings about Big Cat Country and the stuff you write, my guy. I'm just saying. But
well, the difference is you generally cover more opinion pieces. I cover news. So for the most part, I'm covering what's happening, not necessarily my interpretation, my perspective on it. So I'll cover it. I'm writing the Thursday recap. That should be up early tomorrow morning. But for the most part, that's why you get more bings.
By the way, Travis just did a bing. See what we did there? That's called chemistry, folks. Yes. So as you're watching this on Friday morning, look out for that. With that in mind, Travis, I gotta ask this. So we're talking about the Falcons coming up. For my money, I think one of the guys who I think is going to have to make the biggest impact defensively. Yeah, we want to see Trayvon do more. Yeah, Josh Allen will be fighting through a shoulder thing. Trayvon Walker will need to do more. But I'm looking for Fatukasi to do his thing. We would definitely want to see push through the middle of the offensive line of the Falcons if you're looking for the Jaguars to succeed and for the Duval devout to get their 2-2 record that they're hoping for at this point, right?
I think I agree with you. Yes, Fatukasi is the person who makes the Jaguars run defense work. We saw it all throughout 2022 in the games that he didn't play. Teams average, I believe it was 40 yards more a game rushing. I would say it's the same way this year, where the Jaguars currently, I believe, have a top 3 or top 4 run defense. But
84 yards a game, by the way.
Yeah, that's also with Fatukasi, who was, questionable yesterday, but I believe he's in a good spot now, as far as the practice report was concerned today. So we should be good to go as long as he continues staying healthy to continue stopping the run. But Bijan is something not to be trifled with. That Atlanta Falcons run game in total, like it's not just Bijan, but it's also Tyler Aguilar. Is it Aguilar? Aguilar? Yeah, because he was also a really good running back from last year, and Cordell Patterson is also questionable, but because he's been inactive and healthy scratch for the last 2 weeks.
Well, part of that too is the way that it kind of goes with the Falcons' offense. Like since the days of Julio Jones and high-powered stretching of offenses with Matt Ryan and you might have heard this Calvin Ridley kid that came over there. Let me ask you this, Travis. For as poorly as Calvin Ridley, I don't want to say he's performed poorly. That's not fair. He had a great breakout game against the Colts. But there have been some moments where even he's critical of himself. He's dropped 2 touchdowns by his own admission. He's down on him. I should say he's down on himself, but he's critical of the mistakes he's made. He acknowledges them. He owns them. What I kind of think, though, man, you got to think. I know the nature of his departure was sort of, let's say, league-driven. I don't know that the Falcons necessarily got rid of him because he lacked talent. But you think there's an element of I don't want to say vengeance, but
Hey man, revenge game. Let's go.
satisfaction.
Hey, you know what it is? It's a revenge game time. Like they traded the man away. He was on the last year of his contract. They just wanted to be done with it. They already had what they thought was a top receiver, and from their perspective, I can understand exactly why they did it. Because again, they had Drake London, but also. From his perspective, yeah, I would be in my feelings. And these are the guys who are already the top 1% of the top 1% who the only reason that they are successful is because they know they have that chip on their shoulder that, no one believed in me and I can do this. I'm going to do it in spite of everyone else. And yeah, so if you're talking about it being those guys who automatically do that when there's not someone who's truly against them, it's just kind of an unfortunate situation. Oh yeah, I'm 100% sure whether or not he publicly admits it that he absolutely has that chip on his shoulder, and he is, he's going to be nipping at the, he's going to be ready to take, to 150, 200-yard game.
Oh, I'm not going to argue with that, Travis. Matter of fact, I'll see that and even raise you this. Okay. I remember getting traded in our flag football league, and I played in the playoffs against the guy that traded me, and I was hyped. I can't imagine what Calvin's thinking. You know what I'm saying?
No, right. And that's why a lot of times these guys have these big revenge games. That's the real reason, is because no matter what the scenario was surrounding it, hey, man, that team's the villain. And I gotta show out. I gotta be ready. It's my mini Super Bowl. So I absolutely understand that. But fortunately for Calvin, he upgraded when he left because, and again, he has the better quarterback now. He has a team, a more complete, I would say, offense, generally speaking. And Desmond Ridder right now is just scared to death to throw the ball deep. So yeah, from his perspective, he probably lucked out and get out of there.
So what you're trying to tell me is that Desmond Ridder is a younger Marcus Mariota. Well, hey, at least he was backing him up at one point. Yeah, man, listen, I don't get – Falcons fans seem to believe in Desmond Ridder. I just don't get it. I covered him a number of times through covering UCF football because they were playing in the same conference at the time in the American with the black and gold banneret, by the way. Bing! You know the bell's coming now. That's what's up, Travis Holmes. But listen, we can talk about the deficiencies on the Falcons offense and how the Jags defense might have an opportunity to bounce back to have their best defensive performance potentially. Mm-hmm. Unless Bijan Robinson, well, I think we all know that Bijan Robinson's going to be the biggest running threat they faced so far, especially with the Falcons' run game being what it is. I don't think it's a great run game so much as they just run the ball a ton, right? Yeah. I think
it's a lot like the Tennessee Titans. They're going to chip away until you screw up, and when you screw up, they're going to make you pay for it. Your goal is on offense to make them. To put the game into a spot where they can't run the ball. They can't nickel and dime you. It's the same game plan that the Jaguars would use against the Tennessee Titans, who we are used to, is the same game plan that we would need to have against the Falcons if we're going to be successful in London.
Pop quiz, better quarterback, Desmond Ridder or Ryan Tannehill?
Goodness, that's a Spider-Man meme. At least Tannehill can throw the ball deep. And he can something like he's streaky in that way, like Fitzmagic. He can at least get the ball deep. Ridder, that simply cannot. That's the one thing he can't do. I mean, he may be better at controlling the ball on slants and stop routes, but he cannot get the ball deep to this, great receiver and tight end prospect for whatever reason. So I'm probably going to go with Tannehill.
The irony that you bring up Fitzpatrick is amazing because something that's working in the Jaguars' favor, they're staying with their starting quarterback. I would be more worried for the Jaguars in this game, Travis Holmes, if Taylor Heineke was starting this one. He's not.
Bingo. And we talked about this pregame. I'm like, that's the main thing I pray. I pray that the Jaguars don't hit him too hard. I need Josh Allen just to come. Make sure you don't get that personal foul coming down on this dude. I don't need Tyler Heineke coming into this game and and Maple Minshew in this thing. Like, we need to keep Ridder healthy so that he can finish this game and give us this W.
I mean, heck, I know it's rumored that Anthony Richardson, AR with the Colts, is due to come back this week. He's taking practices. But goodness, wouldn't it be crazy if Richardson had the game that he did to open the year, and then on October 15th, Uncle Rico comes in to try to get some vengeance on the teal? That'd be some crazy stuff. But let's keep it here. Let's keep it international. We're not going domestic. That's October 15th. I think we got some time before that. But yeah, we've been talking a lot about the defense and the opportunities that they would have to have possibly a better game unless Bijan goes off. Yeah. I agree with you. I think they're very specially designed to attack the run. But conversely, on offense, Travis Etienne has similar numbers to Bijan Robinson in a much more balanced offense, I would add as well. Listen, he came in last week averaging 4.1 a carry and then finished Sunday's contest averaging 4.6 a carry. He's been doing his part, granted, with a lot of, I would say, home runs rather than necessarily a sustained strike. But nonetheless, I think him being an element of the offense, keeping Bijan off the field, as you described, is certainly going to be a huge element. And, listen, God help the Falcons if the receiver core and with the quarterback, no disrespect to T-Law, to Christian Kirk, Calvin Ridley, or any of the above, or even Evan Ingram for that matter. But if they could just find the page and sustain, the Falcons should be in real trouble, just like the Texans should have been, right?
Well, this is it stinks because it's a totally different matchup, though. Because while the Jaguars also are really good at running the ball, the Falcons' defense is really good at stopping the run, just like the Jaguars' defense. Like, they are top 4 run-stopping defense, the Falcons. So there's a little bit of. I'm a little weird about this game in a lot of ways because the Jaguars should be able to pass the ball against this defense, but again, so should Detroit should have been able to pass the ball against this team, and they were not successful. And it was the weirdest thing also when watching that game film because Atlanta was rotating outside corners. They rotated outside corners with 3 different corners in that game, and it was again, it's something I had never seen before. It was Jeff Okudah because he was coming back from his injury. Mike Hughes and Trey Flowers were all playing outside corner in that game. And I was just like, oh, okay, so they're doing that. So when you have Calvin Ridley out at receiver, he may be able to go up against any one of those 3 guys. And I'm not even sure who would be the best matchup at that point. But the Jaguars will have to pick up the litter if they continue with that rotating option. My biggest concern at this current moment in time is that Falcons D-line versus the Jaguars O-line, a lot like it's been these last few weeks.
Well, and I was going to get to that too. I mean, the offensive line injuries mounting up. Anton Harrison had to leave the game early on Sunday. Now granted, according to Coach Peterson, they're expecting Harrison to be back and ready to go. By the way, props to Walker Little for carrying his water in this situation. And then, it would have been nice. Is Cam out 4 weeks or 6 weeks? I forget.
So Cam will be back in the Buffalo game next week. There's just the question of where he's going to play. Everyone seems to expect him to be playing his normal tackle spot with Walker sliding inside at Ben Barch's spot, but we'll see if that materializes.
I mean, call me crazy, but I'm more inclined to put Cam and Walker side by side on the field for a while until people at any other spot, frankly, get healthier. Yeah. I mean, am I out of my mind?
I mean, that's kind of what it sounds like the plan for the team is going to be. And it really just kind of boils down to the fact that it sounds like Cam simply can't play guard and Walker can. So Walker might be the better tackle overall, but in the terms of viewing this like a Madden depth chart, you may have a tackle who was an 86 and versus the tackles in 83, but by putting that tackle at guard, you make the whole line in 81. So we're just going to do it just to raise the whole boat.
77, yeah.
Yeah. We're just going to raise the whole boat
I hate to ironically use Anton Harrison's number as a rating, but that's exactly what I did. I think that's a strong take overall too with what they're. I mean, this is what patchwork looks like, man.
It stinks losing Josh Wells earlier in the season. You thought you had significant depth at the tackle. He was a swing tackle guard. Swing tackle option. You lose Cooper Hodges. I mean, you so many guys you end up being down, and you just start off the season with a slate of guys. DeForest Buckner, Chris Jones, and now we have Grady Jarrett, and I'm just like, yo, this is going to be a game because he was dominant. And I don't mean a little bit dominant. I mean, that man still got it against Detroit. just tossing guards out of the way, and that's who Ben Barch is going to be matching up with over and over and over. That's going to be an interesting to watch the Jaguars try to run anything inside.
And listen, I know he's year 16 in, but I have to mention Calais Campbell as a former Jaguar as part of the mix here up front, at least loosely. I mean, he may not have a sack or anything like that, but he's going to be a force that's going to be trying to keep the Travis Etiennes of the world from, making their impact as well. Certainly a factor there in that particular situation. And, because just in case anybody from my black and gold banneret team is listening to, I have to acknowledge Mike Hughes and Richie Grant as members of this team. It's part of my contract. But yeah, all that in mind, listen, those are the makings of a whole lot of question marks that could go either way. But this game, I think, will obviously, or not obviously, I think this game will go to about who's more comfortable in the environment. And Travis, it's hard for me to picture anybody more comfortable in London than the Jaguars.
Well, that's the fun part because the Jaguars have a losing record in London. People always talk about the fact that we have that home field advantage, but we also were not a very good team in the past years.
Even Urban Meyer got his win in London. That's all I'm saying.
That is fair. No, that's fair. So it's going to come down to fair. Who's more comfortable there, but just who's more comfortable, just period. Because again, these are two teams who have been a little bit all over the place as far as how they play this season. Atlanta started off a little bit, up and down as far as offensively. David Schwartz getting over a few injuries on defense. I can understand that part. But then they played Detroit, who, again, beat Kansas City. And we saw that happen. An injured Kansas City, nevertheless. But they beat Kansas City. And now we lose against Kansas City. And we're playing against that team that just beat the team that beat them. So it's all about the individual matchups and where that's going to work out. And that's why we kind of hone in on those individual matchups. Their defensive line versus our offensive line. Their pass rush, while they've only had the 3 sacks, they've had 69, 70 quarterback hits. That's on pace for like 119 or whatever it is, some insane number. I'm like, all right, cool. So they're getting a pass rush. They're just not getting sacks. We know about that from 2022 Jaguars. So all that to say is there are small margins in this game, and it's really going to come down to those. Hey, don't drop the balls. Hey, don't have this pre-snap penalty. Don't have these small things that the Jaguars have been kind of screwing up. They've been screwing those things up these past few weeks. So are we finally going to stop pressing and get those things right? If we do, we have a punter's chance of just walking away with the solid victory against a quality team.
Travis, what's the score? What do you got?
I hate to say this because you know me, I'm a Jags fan, but I actually had the Falcons winning 23-20.
See, it's funny. I got 24-20 in my head in favor of the Jags. But to all the points we made, that could swing either way. Should be interesting to see. Travis Holmes, tell the world where you can be found, my guy.
Man, I can be found on all the socials. Travis D. Holmes. You can find me on, obviously here, the Duval Dive, every Friday, 11 a.m. You can also find me on the South Florida Tribune, Inside the Pigskin. We have a podcast that is 8 o'clock at night every Tuesday. And you can find my writings on bigcatcountry.com, where I cover all breaking news.
An honor, joy, and privilege to do this with you, Travis. Of course, I am Kyle Nash, the student of the game. You can find me on Twitter at the SOTG. Find me on Instagram as the same, the SOTG. Check out my writings with the Jaguar Report. Also with the Black and Gold Banneret covering UCF football. Playing Baylor this weekend here at the Bounce House. That's going to be a big one. 2014 Fiesta Bowl rematch. For those who remember that 2013 season, that was a big deal with Blake Bortles. Oh my gosh, the tie-ins. Pretty soon I'm going to have to do an episode of The Good Place to complete the circle, right? And of course, my work at Phase 7 BN Sports. Of course, the Student of the Game podcast Wednesdays at 8:40 p.m. Eastern. And then, as always, here at 11 on Fridays, you can find the Duval Dive Jaguars podcast. An honor, joy, and privilege, my friends. But until next time, everyone, class dismissed.
Hey.